If you're listening right now and your marriage just feels stuck, maybe you feel like your roommates. Maybe you feel like your roommates and you're going through the motion. Where's the spark in your relationship? Is it gone? Every day feels heavy, and you're wondering, how did we even get here? I want you to know I've been right where you are. Let me tell you this. Jeanne and I have been married 27 years this November. But early in our marriage, with young kids and serious health challenges with Jeanne's pregnancies, we started burying our frustrations and disappointments. Why? Because life started living us. Now look, instead of dealing with those things because we didn't know how, like I said earlier, we began to bury them. That created gaps. Those gaps in communication slowly turned into resentment. And let me tell you this about resentment. When resentment is unresolved, it hardens into bitterness. Want to know what the worst part is? I had to look in the mirror and realize the stuck feeling wasn't just happening in my marriage. It was happening inside of me. And today we're going to talk about what being stuck really looks like, and more importantly, the very first step that you can take to get moving again. I want you to be ready, because right after this, we're going to get this thing kicked off. Where do I start? My marriage feels stuck. I'm the Q Dog. I'll be right back. Welcome back to another episode of Man vs. Marriage. It is I, your humble servant, Quincy Moran, a.k.a. The Q Dog. If you're watching by video, you can see I'm donning this brand new family famous hat. I'm stoked about it. That's a West Coast word. Very, very excited about the project that's coming up. But I want to let you know, before we get started there, check out QuincyMoran.com for more about what we are doing to help you be a better man, be a better husband. That's why you're here. Be a better father, be a better friend, be a better professional. That is what the standard is. And we're living that standard through excellence. Now, let's talk about this. Do you feel stuck? I love these monologues that I'm doing lately. And it's not just because I'm writing something, I'm reading it. It helps me get the point across without too many rabbit trails, but because I can refer back to it. I can refer back to it during this program to remind you that just because I have a podcast about marriage doesn't mean that everything is hunky-dory perfect in my marriage. The interesting thing is, and I told Jeanne this one time, I said, you know what's true is we actually do have a perfect marriage, because this marriage that we have, it has love, it has passion, it has compassion, it has empathy, it has forgiveness. We both know that we're not perfect, and there's room, there's grace, and there's mercy for that. So I guess it's how you define a perfect marriage, but every relationship has a season. There are multiple seasons throughout the lifetime of your relationship, and if you're not careful, you might get stuck in a season, you may lose hope, and then you might end your marriage. You might find yourself there right now like, who is this person I married? You might look in the mirror and say, who am I? How did I even get here? So I want to talk to you about a few things. I want to talk to you about some examples in our life. You know how vulnerable I am to you on this podcast, that I open my life up. It's a journey podcast to show you that I go through many of the same things that you have gone through. Maybe you have not gotten there yet, but I'm here to give you my testimony So you know that there is hope and there is opportunity to overcome. It's not about what you cannot do. It is about what you are willing to do in order to become the man you promised that you would be. So let's listen to this one more time. If you're listening to this right now and your marriage feels stuck, like your roommate's going through the motions, the spark is gone, every day feels heavy, and you're wondering how you even got here, this is what's crucial here. I want you to know I've been right where you are. And that's a fact. Jeanne and I, at about 10 years in, had so many things happening at once with our little family that was expanding that we just started surviving the day. There were traumatic things happening over and over and over again. And I'm not overstating it. You tell me if this is traumatic. Grandma sees your 45 minutes. Your child is seizing in front of your face and you have nothing you can do to help. Seizures in general, there's nothing you can do to help. Have you ever sat across from the people who sexually abused your child and listened to them admit what they did and do your best not to go to jail? Traumatic event, traumatic event. How about brain surgeries? Over and over and over and over again, to the tune of approximately 20. How about 3 diagnoses for autism for your 3 oldest kids and not knowing what to do about that? How about being in so much financial duress that you're losing your home and you have to eat out of the food bank at church? Now, I could go on. I'm not even going there so that you give me pity. I'm going there to level set what I'm talking about, which is how life began to live Jeanne and I, and we got into a mode of survival. And we were just running the day. We ended up feeling like roommates. We tried to get sex in, but autism was such a difficult situation. Neither one of us were sleeping much. Jeanne was really the one feeling the pain because I went to work every day and she was at home with our children, whether she was homeschooling or sending them off to school. It was an extremely difficult time in our life. And you may hear some yelling or some screaming or some loud noises here. And that's because we're in another season with autism and it's very, very challenging. So you can get to the point where you feel stuck. You can get to the point where you feel like you are hopeless. You can get to the point where you feel like, who am I? This is not who I signed up to be. And those are places that I have found myself. Those are places that Jeanne and I have been in our relationship. But I can tell you today, even though we've had hiccups, we've had challenges with one another, we've had disappointments as recent as the last 2 weeks, we've had to have some very hard conversations, our relationship right now is stronger than it has ever been. I love that woman more than I have ever known, I could love her. I trust her more than ever, and we are very, very close. It didn't just happen organically, it happened with intention. So one of the things that truly helps Jeanne and I, we came up with this about a year ago. We had tried the check-in time after time after time, but it was very generalized. I want to introduce you to a concept. If you're new, you may not know this, but there are the you that is listening to this in your car, wherever you are right now. There are many facets of who you are. And when Jeanne and I were doing the check-in before, it would start and it would fade out. It would start, it would fade out because there was really no value. We would sit in front of each other and say, well, how are you? How are you? Good. Anything going on? No, nothing I can think of. We get off on a tangent of some sort unless we really had something that we needed to clear the air about because we were arguing, but there was no true connection and progress in the checkout or the check-in. And thanks be to God that one day we were sitting down, we were in a tough spot in our relationship. It just gets challenging to communicate sometimes, especially in that era, many eras, but in that era where you have children that are becoming adults or that are adults by the age of 18 or older. And so you got to start figuring things out between freedom and authority. And those times can be very challenging. And it might not even be between you and your spouse, it's between you and your children. And that's where we found ourselves. And so as we were sitting down to do the check-in this time, because we would start them, they would fade out, then we would take that cycle again and again and again, find ourselves coming back to the same place and saying, okay, we've got to do these check-ins. We know the tools, we teach them, we got to stay true to them. Anyway, the Holy Spirit spoke to my heart and said, hey, why don't you ask how Jeanne is? I'm like, oh, it's a great idea. And you may be saying, Quincy, you already asked how Jeanne is. Well, was I asking how Jeanne is the genie, or was I asking how Jeanne is the wife, or Jeanne is the mother? And that began to expand into, let's look at each aspect of who you are, number one, because that causes the other person that you're asking the question to truly think, well, how am I in these various areas? Because there are a lot of pieces that make you up. So I'll just run through them quickly. We'll talk about this. Jeanne will say, how is Quincy the man? I will talk about how I am as the man, the adult Q dog. And I will talk about my faith journey and my health, where Quincy the man is. The next thing is how is Quincy the husband? And this is where I have to say I'm good, or I'm frustrated, or I'm not getting enough X, Y, and Z, and we're supposed to be meeting each other's needs. Or we'll talk about what's going well. The next thing you know, we're going to talk about how is Quincy the dad, Quincy the father. And then it forces me to think about my relationship with my children in a deeper and different way. Then we go on to how is Quincy the son? How is Quincy the brother? How is Quincy the friend? How is Quincy the professional? Because I have my professional side, which is my 9-to-5 work. And then I have this passion project side, and we need to know how those things are going. And then we will say after that, because we're asking each other in alternating fashion, we'll say, is there anything left open? And there is sometimes there's not, but you're not just giving something so generalized where you or your wife can hide by accident. Now it's very intentional. It's detailed, asking how you're doing, because you need to know that you may be challenged in a few of these areas, but they may not be related to Quincy the husband, but I'm treating my wife poorly because I have feelings, or I'm in my feelings about some of these other areas. So it's important to know that, because as I walk you through these points that we're talking about, I'm always big on taking personal responsibility. That's where it begins with me. I'm a guy who wants to focus on what I can affect. If I'm feeling some kind of way, or if I'm in my feelings, I'm frustrated, I'm emotional, I like to go back and say, okay, is this really about this particular situation? Or am I angry or frustrated or upset about something else? And am I taking it out on someone else? And I think that one of the greatest examples I can give you is Jeanne and I had made an agreement that we were going to start talking or speaking up more when we noticed something about each other. And I walked in the living room one night, and she was sitting in the chair in the living room, and I could tell that she was frustrated. I'd ask her a question, and she'd give a short answer. And I got in my head, and I was like, what did I do? Because, the whole world revolves around me. Just in case you didn't know that, the world revolves around me. So I was like, man, what did I do that is causing her to have such a bad attitude? It's like, man, And so finally I snapped out of it, and I said, you know what? We made a commitment to ask. I have permission from her. She has permission from me. So I sat down and said, honey, you seem off. What's going on? What did she say? Quincy, you suck? Could have been. I mean, that legitimately, that could have been it. But no, she's frustrated because she's having a difficult time competing with Mother Nature in her garden, and her plants, her vegetables, her fruits. They're not growing like she wants them to, and she's frustrated with that. It had nothing to do with me, but I took the way she was acting and I made it about me. And how many times do we do that, where we're frustrated about work because a deal went south, or somebody got just gotten our junk and chewed us out for something that wasn't our fault, or maybe we just flat failed. And you get home and maybe the kids are being a little loud, or your wife needs to talk to you immediately when you get home, and you start treating them out of a certain way, or they start treating them out of, like, with a particular personality, and it's not even them that you're frustrated with. I've done it many times. I could probably have an Olympic gold medal in it, especially early on, because I did not take the practice that was taught to me and that I've taught to you about being the thermostat of my home and not the thermometer. When you're the thermometer, you go in and you automatically, you just raise your temp or lower your temp compared to what's in the room. But when you're the thermostat, you walk into the room and you set the temperature. And that's with your attitude. That's with your actions. That's with your effort. That's with your intentions. And sometimes when we are in our feelings, we can't do that, especially when we are feeling stuck. Because when you're feeling stuck, it's hard to take a compliment. It's hard to take a nice word from the people you love, much less some sort of criticism. So the first step is always the same. Stop waiting for your wife or circumstances to change, and take personal responsibility for the climate in your home. We just talked about that. What climate? The attitude of your home, the ethos of your home. Be the thermostat. When you're stuck, you start burying things. You stop talking about the frustrations and the disappointments, and that creates gaps. Those gaps turn into resentments, and just like we talked about earlier, when resentment is unresolved, it turns into bitterness. And I'm telling you, that bitterness is what creates a barrier between you reaching your wife's heart and her reaching your heart. That's why I'm big on examining yourself. I've lived it. I became emotional. I get nitpicky. I get my attitude is short with people. I wrestle with my attitude, and then resentment just continues to boil underneath. And the weird thing about me is when I get frustrated with other people and I start treating them poorly, I add another layer on there because I get frustrated with myself that I'm frustrated, because I don't want to be frustrated. And so it bothers me when I'm frustrated. I don't know if you feel the same way or you experience anything like that, but it's important that I open my heart and I let you know. So I want to know, what do you think about this, looking at yourself in the various aspects? Maybe you think it's a great idea. Maybe it's an aha moment for you. Or maybe you look at it and you go, man, I think that's pretty dumb. Well, I'm here to tell you from firsthand experience that it's life-changing. And I urge you and encourage you to start looking at yourself in this manner. Who are you, the man? How is your faith? How is your health? Are they developing the way that you want them to? How are you the husband, dude? Answer me this question. How are you the husband? Are you disappointed, or are you connected with your spouse? Do you have any beef that you need to handle? Now, how are you as a dad? How are you as a father? The parenting piece, it has seasons as well. Remember me talking about that earlier? It has seasons as well. You go from daddy to dad to dad, and then it evolves from there. And so it's interesting how you begin to find the different aspects of how relative you are in your child's life, because they need to go and expand themselves and get freedom. They need to go experience this life. You won't feel as relevant as you once did from time to time. And that's because they're trying to figure their way out. So then after you've the friend, I want to ask you, if you have siblings, how are you the brother? Are you connecting with your siblings? Do you have a good relationship with your siblings? I don't always have a good one with mine. How are you the friend? How are things going on? How's your friends' relationships with you? How's your relationships with them? Any 50 and 5 rule you need to talk about with your spouse? And then ultimately, how are you as the professional? I want you to ask yourself these questions. It's very important that you realize that sometimes when you are treating your family poorly, it's because you're disappointed about something else in your life and you are allowing it to dictate your attitude. And that's something that we put a lot of emphasis on here, not to do. Not to do that. And I'm curious, as I begin to close this out, do you know the difference between disappointment and anger? I looked it up on Grok. I didn't look at the results because I wanted to see if I could articulate it off the cuff, and I wanted to compare it to what the definition is. I would say that anger is something that is direct, and disappointment is a situation that is indirect because you're disappointed in the outcome of something, whereas anger seems to be something that has happened that has made you angry. So one comes from an external piece, one comes from an internal piece. And if you're not able to resolve being disappointed about not getting something or not going somewhere or not receiving the connection that you wanted, if you don't know how to resolve and work through that, then it can show itself and feel very similar to anger. And then you will treat people out of being angry when really you were disappointed and it went unidentified. So let me go over here and see. Boy, this does it really well. Core difference, the simple version, I guess Grok knows me well already. Disappointment is primarily sadness and unmet expectations. Said well, I missed that. It's the emotion you feel when reality falls short of what you had hoped for, wanted, or believed should have happened. Now, anger is primarily a response to perceived wrong or a threat. It's the emotion you feel when you believe something or someone has violated a boundary, been unfair, unjust, disrespectful, or harmful. Yep, Grok, you did it much better than I did. But I'm here to tell you that both of those situations can feel the same. But if you don't understand how you are what you are processing, then you can take that stuff out on other people. Now, disappointment of an unmet expectation could be the result of someone's actions. And here's the thing, like I tell Jeanne, and I tell my kids, it's okay to be disappointed. It's actually okay to be angry. It's how you resolve that and move forward that is really the key. And if you don't know how to do that, let's find a healthy way for you to do that. Okay, so here's what I do when it comes to this. I reflect on what is this really about? I want to get to the root cause of what is really going on here. Am I angry? Am I disappointed? Then I'm going to ask you, when you're frustrated, when you're disappointed, or you're angry, whichever one it is, all of the above, I'm going to ask you to listen to something I call your quiet dialogue. Okay, that's the conversation that's going on in your head while these situations are happening. And then there's a question that once you get through it, once you start to discover what it is, as long as you're not blame shifting your attitude around on everyone else but you, then you can move on to this part, which is, what do I need to own? What do I need to address? That's what I call taking inventory. That way you know what you're sorting out and you know what you need to take responsibility for, and then you know what you need to address with the party at hand. So what you're doing is you're self-assessing this situation so that you know exactly what it is you're dealing with. Am I angry or am I disappointed? What part of this is my responsibility? Because I want to take that and I want to resolve that. Then what part of this do I need to take and address with someone else? And how can I do that effectively and diplomatically, but still communicate and articulate the point? So if your marriage feels stuck right now, you don't need a miracle. You need to start with ownership. Take inventory today. Ask yourself the hard questions. Own what you need to own. Address what you need to address. And then let me know how I can help you. And look, it's just like being in the gym. The more reps you do, the better your form begins to get with intention, and the better you get, the stronger you get at this, at these exercises. So I want to encourage you to do that. Now, look, be sure to check out QuincyMoran.com, brother, because we have put in a lot of work. I guess I'm talking about me because I don't have a team. Put in a lot of work there so that you see other avenues on how I can help you. And let me ask you this: if anything in this show connected with you, if you had an aha moment, would you please share this show with someone and help us broaden the platform? I believe that marriage is something that men keep very, very close to the vest. We don't generally go out and talk about how we feel disappointed in our relationship or maybe who we are. Maybe we just go out and complain about our wife. But share this with someone. Share this with a couple of guys, 2, 3, 4, 500 guys, and see what you can do to lead by example to help guys change their relationship. It starts with you. It starts with me taking personal responsibility. So let me know what I can do to help you. It's Quincy at mvsmpodcast.com. Feel free to go check out QuincyMoran.com and look at the resources that I have for you there. Sign up for my mailing list. So when I start to kick out this book, when I start to kick out some of these other activities, you'll be on the know. You'll be on the up and up. So in finality, I want to talk about this. Take personal responsibility to get to the root of the issue. Reflect on, what is this really about? Am I angry? Am I disappointed? Listen to your quiet dialogue, especially when you get upset, when you get frustrated. But add this in. What about when you're thinking about your future and what you want to create, or your future and how you go to the clouds, and what are you getting excited about? Listen to your quiet dialogue there. Now ask yourself, what do I need to own? What do I need to address? And take that inventory. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you on what epiphanies, what aha moments you might have yourself. Listen, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being faithful to this program. Please rate it. Please give us a review, and please share this with someone. Share this with a guy who you know it can help. All right? Well, that's it, men. Thank you so much for listening. From the Moran Family Studio, my name is Quincy Moran, a.k.a. the Cube Dog, and this is Man vs. Marriage, the podcast.